Okay? So, I'm going to subtract 4 and get x squared equals negative 4. What do I got to do now to finish? Square root, right? So I get x equals what? Plus or minus 2i. Very good. Some of us forgot the plus or minus on Friday. Some of us forgot the I. All right, this one we add to. And this one we subtract. So you look at the beginning problem. The degree is 4. That first term to the 4th power. That means there's going to be 4 answers. Last week they were x squared to the 2nd power. So they all had 2 answers. Okay? 2 of these answers are non-real answers, and 2 are real. Okay? But there's still 4 answers. Questions on that? Okay. This one. How many answers are we thinking for this one? 3. Yeah. The first term's an x cubed. So that means it has a degree of 3. So there's going to be 3 answers. Now this has 4 terms. Is there a GCF? Is there something that goes into all 4 terms? No. So since it's got 4 terms, what type of problem is it? A grouping problem. We're going to jump right down to number 6 on our list. And when we group first 2 and the last 2. If this third term has a minus sign like this one does, put that minus sign in the group and just separate the 2 groups with an addition sign. If it was already addition, then just leave the addition outside and put your parenthesis right in front of that 2. Now, once we have it grouped, we go back to the steps of factoring. What's the number 1 step always? GCF. That's what we pull out of each group. What's the GCF for this group? X squared. So that's got 2 terms in the group. There should be 2 terms in this group. X cubed divided by x squared gives me x. And negative 4x squared divided by x squared gives me a negative 4. So there's my 2 terms in that group. When this is a minus sign, like this one is, Chase, pull that minus sign out. Okay? And 2 goes in the boat, so take the 2 with you. And divide again. Negative 2x divided by negative 2 is positive x. And positive 8 divided by negative 2 is negative 4. You should get the same 2 terms inside that parenthesis, like we did. So that's one of my factors, x minus 4. And my other one is x squared minus 2. This is not a difference of squares because 2 is not a perfect square. Okay, this one isn't because x is not a perfect square. So I just set them equal to 0. Now that it's done being factored, can't factor it anymore. And then solve those 2 equations. So one answer is 4. And the other answer, gotta add 2 first. Once I have the squared part alone, I can take the square root of both sides. So I get x equals plus or minus. So there's 2 answers there. So that's my total of 3. And the square root of 2 is just that, square root of 2. Those are all real answers. 4, positive square root of 2, negative square root of 2. So there's my 3, which I thought would happen when I first looked at it, right? Because the degree was 3. Okay, so let's stay focused. We didn't do it as well as I thought we should have on Friday. okay? Because we're starting to get a little bit lazy, I think. So let's stay focused this week and get this down so that we'll finish strong on our last quiz. Any questions so far? Okay. Ashton, what should I do to start?
GCF.
Right, which is?
X squared.
Good. What's left?
X squared minus 36.
Good. Jamie, now what?
Use, I don't know.
Kennedy? Yeah, that's a difference of squares. They're both perfect squares and a minus. So we can go a little further. Square root of x squared was the x. Square root of 36 was the 6. One's a plus, one's a minus. Okay? So then we're going to set them all equal to 0. X squared equals 0. Or x plus 6 equals 0. Or x minus 6 equals 0. We're going to add 6. So one answer is 6. Subtract 6. We get negative 6. And what do I do at this time? Thanks, you guys. We're talkative today. Plus or minus? 0. Can 0 be positive or negative? No. But it just tells you there's how many times the 0 work. It has multiplicity. It has even multiplicity. We'll talk about that as we move on later in the year, but we talked about it last year too. If we were to look at the graph of this, it would look like a W. It would come down, I don't know how far down, but then it'll come up at 0, it'd bounce off because it has even multiplicity. The positive 6 is there, the negative 6 is here, and at 0, it bounces off because it has even multiplicity. It works more than once, it works twice. If it has odd multiplicity, as the graph goes through that point, it'll curve. It'll make a little squiggly in there. Okay, but again, we're not talking about that yet, but we will as we move on through the year. Okay, any questions on that example? One more, and then I'll give you your assignment. You have time to work on it in class. Okay, so is there a GCF? No. Is it a difference of squares? No. What is it? Yeah, the difference of cubes. That was number 3. We haven't done one of these for a while. So let's go through that again. When we factor one of these, a difference of cubes, and this could also be addition. Sum of cubes you can also do. But this one was subtraction, so we'll call it a difference because that's what subtraction is, right? We take the cube root of both terms, and that gives us our binomial. What's the cube root of x cubed? And the cube root of 27? 3. Since that's subtraction there to start, this binomial is also subtraction. So x minus 3 for that part. For the trinomial part, you take the first term of this binomial we got and square it. So what's x times x? X squared. The sign of the middle term of your trinomial is always opposite what's in between the binomials. So since this is subtraction, this middle one's the opposite, so that's addition. And all you do is multiply those two terms. What's x times 3? 3x. That's how you get the middle. The third term is always addition. And all you do is square that one. So we squared that, multiply them, and then square that. What's 3 squared? 9. When you have one of these, sum or difference of cubes, there's just one step. You're done factoring. Okay? So then we do what we've been doing since it equals 0. One of those two factors equals 0. So here all we do is add 3. So one of our answers is 3. And then we got to get our other two answers. Okay, this doesn't factor anymore. So last week on the quadratics, we did it by factoring. Well, that doesn't factor. We did it by the square root method. That's usually when we didn't have a b value. There's no x in it, so we're not going to use that one. We had complete the square, which we could do, but b is odd. It makes it a little tougher when it's odd, right? And it gives us fractions and stuff. So what's the other method we learned? Yeah, that's what I would use. Use the quadratic formula. So I go x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. A few mistakes on Friday. Forgot it was negative b. You might have forgot to square the b, and somebody put plus 4ac instead of minus. So those were the mistakes on the quadratic formula if you made one. So then I got negative 3 for this, 2 for the denominator, and figure out what goes in there. So we got 3 squared is 9. Negative 4 times 1 is negative 4 times 9 is negative 36. That puts a negative 27 in there. Can I simplify 27 with the factor tree? What times what? 9 and 3. I like those two numbers. Why? The 9's a perfect square, right? If it was cube root, we could do the perfect cube, right? We already, basically, that's how we started this one. So I can pull the 3 out because of the 9. Since it's negative, what else do I pull out? The I. That 3 is left underneath. And then 2 is my denominator still. So there's my other two answers. Negative 3 plus 3i radical 3 over 2, and negative 3 minus 3i radical 3 over 2. So I only have one real answer and two non-real answers for this problem. So if I were trying to graph it, I'd only see the graph go through at 3. I wouldn't see where, because I couldn't see that non-real stuff. So you're going to be doing factoring today. Once you have it factored, set each factor equal to 0 to solve. Okay? So nothing new as far as what factoring is. We just haven't done a couple of these for a while, but you'll get some practice tonight. There's your practice. Let's do it. Let's finish strong. Let's do these last. So we got 4 assignments coming this week, plus the practice, so 5. That's 25 points. It's not hard to get to 5 points as long as you're trying and submitting. Okay, so make sure you submit and focus on what we're doing so that we have a good quiz, that last quiz of the 9 weeks. All right, any questions? All right, look and feel good? You are good. You are good. You guys are awesome. Stuff 93. Yeah, for teachers.